for me, leadership is inviting people to experience that life and to encourage them in the journey that they have before them, and to walk alongside them, as opposed to bringing them to my picture of who I think I am or what I think I know, instead of just inviting them to go forward in the callings that they have in their lives.
Yeah.
And to embrace their pain instead of running from it or ignoring it or medicating it, but to allow the pain to actually give them depth and beauty and perspective and wisdom.
So that segues into your story. I mean, you actually wrote a book called Undeniable, An Epic Journey Through Pain. Not everybody wants to have an epic journey through pain, but so why don't you just tell us a synopsis of the first part of the story as to what happened to you and your wife?
One day, while returning from a preaching engagement at a church about 2 hours from our house, we were in a fatal car accident, and everything changed. Our two precious children, Caleb was 3.5 years old, Abigail 10.5 months. They both died on that day in my arms. And my wife nearly died, but praise God, she was able to continue to fight and exist and continue to be my bride. And so we survived that accident, the two of us, and then life became something we'd never imagined.
Yeah.
And started over.
So you kind of entered into the dark night of the soul, so to speak, of the grief of the loss of that. I mean, I can't imagine holding my dying children, you know. Having 2 kids myself,
yeah,
it's very hard to even conceive of. But walking through that grief, there was an encounter with light in the darkness. And tell us a little bit about that.
We're sitting there eating breakfast, and this means we'd already gone through some of our stages of not eating much alone because it was so painful,
Yeah.
but this must have been probably at least a year later, maybe more than that. And I'm about ready to take a bite of toast or something, and she just looks at me and says, "Only 2 people died that day." Now, the average person would be saying, obviously that's a true mathematics statement, but that wasn't the point. What she meant was, we didn't die. Even though we've been living like these shells of people, we weren't dead. And for some reason, God, life, whatever description someone wants to put on that, kept us alive.
Yeah.
And that now we needed to consider finding what that purpose is, and to realize that it was okay to dream again, to hope again, to laugh without feeling guilty. And that began to be the turning point for us.
So, in all that, you described in your book that this was sort of a point of salvation that you kind of go back to, and you know, connecting that to leadership. Like, how did that start a journey of leadership in your life, salvation, if you want to call it too, from that darkness? How did that darkness give birth to something of beauty in your life?
That's a great question. I think from the brokenness, as we began to find life and hope and value in the pain, I began to realize that I don't have to have all the answers. I can simply come alongside others and invite them to allow the same God that's transformed my life through that darkness to do the same for them.
Yeah.
And I've found that when you ask people to truly be honest, which frankly we don't do very well. You know, we're much more likely to live behind our face or our tweets or our little profiles, but to truly be honest at the human level, at the heart level, And when you connect with another human being at that level, you have so much more in common than you can ever imagine than the particular theological differences or the walls that people have killed over. When you actually come to know them as a person, everything changes. And you begin to actually walk together in that journey. I describe it as being a bridge person. When you're bridging two different groups, the more that you walk closer to this group to connect and to lead, the more you look like an enemy from that group.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Which means, in the end, bridge builders have the unique privilege of being able to be shot from both sides.
Yeah. But in the end, you have your eyes fixed on something that you're leading towards. People see, well, where's he going?
Yes.
You know,
and the
you're
more
heading towards sort of a relational connection point versus just a dogmatic point.
Exactly.
You know,
leadership is about character. It's about the person's experience, and you can learn certain things to do. You can learn processes and have certain steps, but if there isn't the character along with that, it's incredibly damaging. Which that brings back to life, back to actually experiencing life, being honest with ourselves. What was it, Shakespeare? To thine own self be true. You know, to be willing to actually take the masks off and to acknowledge what's happened. Now, that is horribly terrifying if it's outside of God, if it's outside of love. I mean, if there isn't a deeper message of love and I take the masks off, I am going to be over. Depressed, discouraged, no hope of getting up. But when we are fully known and fully loved, then he meets us there, and realize that every part of life becomes something by which he can then use it to build or to prepare us or to equip us to meet others.
So true. So, well, that's great, Bryan. Well, we thank you for sharing with us, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us about your life and how you've walked through darkness and found something precious in that, and we appreciate that. So, thanks much.
Thank you for the opportunity.